Whether you're a traveler or not, everyone has heard of France, Spain, Italy, China, and the US. Those are the 5 most visited nations in the world, receiving a whopping 377 million tourists in 2019. But on the other side of the spectrum, which to me is far more interesting, you'll find the least visited countries, and in this video, I'm going to share with you 6 of them. Let's begin with Nauru, the small country in the middle of the Pacific Islands.
Welcome to Nauru.
I went there about a year ago, and it's one of the most fascinating countries because it's just one island long and you can walk around the whole perimeter in just a few hours. It's known as the world's most obese country because there's not a lot of fresh produce and they have to import everything, which means a lot of canned food, and they have a very unhealthy diet. But on the positive side, there's a lot of natural beauty, and it's just a fascinating country to visit. Everything I read online, everything I thought about Nauru was false, and it's really just an enjoyable experience. The next least visited country I want to tell you about is called Comoros. It's just off the coast of East Africa. It's a chain of islands. Almost everyone there can speak French, Arabic, Comorian, English, and also Swahili is pretty common, so it's a very cool mix and blend of cultures. What I liked about Comoros so much is it has very underrated beaches. I flew my drone on this beach and I was just stunned by what I was seeing. Comoros also has accessible volcanoes that you can hike and a very charming capital city called Moroni. Next up on the list is Kyrgyzstan. It's actually one of my favorite countries in Central Asia. About 90% of the entire nation is covered in mountains. And near Bishkek, the capital city, you have this place called Ala Archa National Park. I highly recommend the short day trip to visit it. It is stunning. Another city in Kyrgyzstan is called Osh, which is very, very ancient, and it's along the Silk Road, and it has a very interesting market. And finally, my favorite thing about Kyrgyzstan is that people are nomadic, as you'll see yurts all over the country. Next up, we have Equatorial Guinea. We're here in Equatorial Guinea, my 148th country. It's one of the most contradicting countries in the world because it's really rich, they have a lot of oil, but the people are very poor. So there's a huge income inequality, and it's really obvious when you're traveling there. You can see it on the streets. The roads are perfectly maintained. There's very, very nice infrastructure. It's very tropical, very green, but most of the people are living in under $1 a day, and it just kind of breaks my heart to witness. The most fascinating thing about Equatorial Guinea is that they speak Spanish, and it's the only Spanish-speaking nation in all of Africa.
Hola, aquí en Guinea Ecuatorial todos hablamos el español.
The next least visited country that I want to tell you about is called Guyana. It's the only English-speaking nation in all of South America, and it seems like people just never even heard of this country before. The first thing that comes to mind when I think about my time in Guyana is the diversity of the people. You have the majority of people that have some kind of Indian or African descent, also mixed with Latinos. It's just so fascinating. The capital of Georgetown wasn't my favorite city in the world. It was actually quite dangerous to visit, but around 70% of Guyana is rainforest, so there's so many interesting things to see if you like nature. The 6th and final least visited country I want to tell you about is called Kiribati. It's also in the Pacific, kind of near Nauru, but it's very different. When I was flying into the country, my eyes were just glued out the window as I could see this incredible archipelago with vibrant green and blue water. It's just the most physically stunning natural beauty I think I've ever seen, especially in the Pacific. I think there's around 100,000 people that live in the country, most of them on or near the main island and capital called Tarawa. But the sad thing about Kiribati is that its locals are feeling the real impact of climate change. I was there during the high tide and I could see the waves crashing on people's houses, blocking the roads. I saw soccer games that turned into splashing contests, and it was just kind of sad to see. The locals do remain happy and they brush it off, but from my perspective, it was alarming, and I feel bad for the people there because their home is just a few decades away from being underwater.
If you don't believe in climate change, then come visit Kiribati and you'll see for yourself.
I'll conclude this video by telling you guys that you should really think about visiting the world's least visited nations, not because it's so interesting culturally, but because tourism really benefits its people. A lot of these countries are struggling, and you're making the society better and pushing up the economy. That's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please comment below if you've been to any of these countries. I would love to hear from you. That's it. Take care, and I'll see you later. I'm Drew Binsky, and if you like my travel videos, please click subscribe and join me as I plan to visit every country in the world.